Welcome to the Boom Bap Kingdom.
Yo, peace and welcome to the Boom Bap Kingdom. We're here and we're chilling. What we're here for today is I saw a video from Bolo Da Producer. Shout out to him. What this is about is Splice, YouTube, and copyright claims, because there's quite a bit of things moving on in the background that some of you who subscribe to Splice and upload your beats or songs to YouTube that contain Splice samples may not understand. I'm kind of excited to do this one because this has been something I've been thinking about for quite some time. I know back in the SoundCloud days, people who were using Splice samples were getting flagged. How does this work? What are copyrights? What are flags, etc.? How does this apply to YouTube? So YouTube uses an algorithm, something that they call Content ID. What Content ID does is it literally scans for audio matches. Content ID does not care about licensing. It doesn't care about if you have a paid for subscription to Splice. It doesn't care about any of that stuff. It simply checks for audio matches that are in their database. So what that means is if I'm a label, whoever records, I sign artist X. Artist X goes to the studio, they get a beat from producer X, and that beat contains a Splice loop. Now, this is an important concept to understand, because if you're using a Splice sample that is unaltered and artist X, who's signed, takes that same sample, uses it in their track, and then that track is distributed. It's uploaded, it's on the web, it's everywhere. DistroKid, whoever. It goes everywhere. Once it hits YouTube, that label will typically register that song with Content ID. So the record company gets their submission from Artist X, who signed to them, and then they distribute it, right? That label goes through their distributor to get that song out to all platforms, YouTube included. That label registers that song with Content ID. So as far as YouTube and Content ID is concerned, that label owns that song. It's their copyright, it's their intellectual property, they own it. YouTube does not care if you have a Splice membership. They don't care. Now, with your Splice membership, as long as you're a subscriber that is in good standing, your account is active, you have a license to use any samples that they're selling or posting, anything that's downloadable to the subscriber. You can use that royalty free because your monthly subscription is paying for the license, and you can use it privately or commercially. What you cannot do is take a Splice sample and resell it as is in your own sample pack. So that you can't do. But what you can do is take a Splice sample, put it in your song. You can make a beat around it or loop it or whatever and put it out there. But if somebody's record company uses the same sample and they register their song before you do, guess who owns the copyright? It's the guy who gets to it first. The label that got it up first in the Content ID system. So YouTube is only looking for audio matches in Content ID. So this is really not a Splice issue. This is really a YouTube/Google issue. What should happen is if you make beats according to the way we do here at the Boom Bap Kingdom, you're flipping your samples. If you make it unrecognizable from the original, it's not going to get flagged. That's common sense, right? But if you're one of these producers who are into loops and you feel that the loop is so dope that you have to run with it as is, guess what's going to happen? It's going to get flagged. And this is not going to just happen with YouTube. It will happen with other platforms as well. Because if I'm on Def Jam Records, or if I'm on Warner Brothers, or if I'm signed to whoever, capital whoever, and I make the song and I submit the song, they're going to register the song. And now if that sample, the main loop, came from a sample pack that's available to anyone with a subscription from the provider who is providing these packs, that means potentially anyone can run into this copyright problem. So what really needs to happen, corporations like YouTube need to expand their algorithm. So when Content ID is doing the audio match search, it should have the ability to scan Splice databases to see if that sample exists in the Splice ecosystem or in the Splice library, if you will. And if it sees that it does, their algorithm should be intelligent enough to say, oh, this is a Splice sample. The onus is really on YouTube and the Content ID system. You could have the same problem if you have a Native Instruments sample pack or an Akai sample pack. You could run into the same issue. If I make a beat with a Native Instruments or an Akai sample pack and I like that loop and I use it, which would never happen here at the Boom Bap Kingdom, we flip. We don't use and we create because we sound design. But if you're a user, doesn't really matter. As long as whoever used that sample before you registers their song and their song is now part of the Content ID system or it's in their database, you try to use that same sample, even if it's free, you're going to get flagged and it's going to look like artist X owns the sample. So that's really the problem here. I appreciate you guys rocking with me here at the Boom Bap Kingdom. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. We'll be back with dope content, the beat making. I'll give you guys the final studio tour when that's all done. Peace.